Dear students, I welcome you all in this class on analog and digital communication. In the last class, we discussed the concept of PCM, that is pulse code modulation. In today's class, we will move further and we will talk about DPCM, that is differential PCM, and the noise which is there in our PCM system. Okay, and with that your topic on PCM, it will be over in today's class. Let us now move further. So just to recapitulate whatever we discussed in the last class, I'll hurriedly tell you what we discussed in PCM. I told you that in PCM your message signal is represented by a sequence of coded pulses. I hope you remember PAM. So from our modulating signal, first we obtained PAM signal, and then in the PAM we could introduce discreteness in time domain. Whereas in PCM, what we have done, we have represented our signal in the discrete form in both time and amplitude. And I explained in the previous class that how can we obtain discreteness both in time as well as in amplitude. So we discussed in detail the basic operations of PCM transmitter, which involved sampling, quantization, and encoding. And if you remember, sampling is a process with the help of which we can make our signal discrete in time. We also stated sampling theorem for low pass signal, and we proved sampling theorem also with the help of mathematical expression. Then I had explained the quantization process to you, and it was the quantization process which made our signal discrete in amplitude. Fine. And after quantization, your quantization levels were coded with the help of binary codes. So that way we obtained sequence of coded pulses in case of your PCM system. Whereas as in other modulation techniques also, in PCM receiver as well, we regenerated our message signal back by following the reverse of PCM transmitter, where we first regenerated our signal, then decoded our signal, and the reconstruction of train of equalized samples was done with the help of low pass filter. And the main advantage of PCM system, as we discussed in the previous class, was that the effect of noise is significantly reduced in PCM system. Next. So this was the block diagram of PCM system that we had discussed in detail in the previous class. So we have analog message signal that we want to transmit from transmitter to receiver. Then we use low pass filter to pass our analog message signal before it is entered into the components of PCM system. And if you remember, I told you that this low pass filter was used to band limit our input signal, and in the definition of sampling theorem it was there that we can sample only band limited signal. So that's why this low pass filter has been used to make our signal band limited. Then sampling was done, quantization was done, and encoding was done, and as a result we obtained the PCM output. And this PCM output was then transferred to the channel which exists between your transmitter and receiver. Then I told you that in case of our PCM system, we can use regenerative repeaters. And we discussed that with the help of these regenerative repeaters, we can refresh our signal in a way that we can avoid the accumulation of the noise by using repeaters. Okay, so that way we could control the accumulation of noise in PCM system. So at the input of our PCM receiver, we again regenerate our received signal the way we have done in the repeater, then we decode it, we use reconstruction filter, and finally our destination is reached for the analog message signal that was transmitted. So this was the block diagram of our PCM system. Next. So just for your reference, I am showing you the process of quantization here. So this blue line, this is our original information signal, and after quantization into different steps or quantization level, your signal becomes like this. Okay, one thing is very sure, that your quantized signal is an approximation to your original signal. So obviously with the help of quantization, we are introducing some deliberate distortion into our original signal. So our original signal is the blue colored line, and after quantization, this green colored line has been obtained, or green colored signal has been obtained, which has various steps in it. So you can very well fully see that there is deviation in the quantized signal and the original signal. So that way, with the help of quantization, we are introducing a deliberate distortion or noise into our signal, which is part of nothing but the process of obtaining PCM signal. We have to bear with that, because without this, PCM is not possible. And in fact, because of quantization only, we are able to reduce the effect of the noise which is added into the channel, as I showed you on the right hand side of this slide, that in case of analog signal, we have signal plus noise. So once noise enters into the signal, it is impossible to remove this noise in 100% manner. Whereas in case of digital signal, where we have quantized levels, if noise creeps up into the signal, these signals can be refreshed, these levels can be refreshed, and the noise can be completely removed, because we know that our levels, quantization levels, are fixed, and we can regenerate those quantization levels by removing these noise components. Fine. So after quantization, we discussed encoding. So these quantization levels were encoded with the help of binary codes, and your binary code, you know that we have either 1 or 0. Here 1 means the pulse is present, and 0 means the pulse is absent. So instead of the waveform shape, we are concerned with just the absence or the presence of the signal. Okay, so that is the beauty of your PCM system, because of which we obtain the noise immunity in our PCM signal. Correct? So here one more thing you need to notice here, that after quantization has been obtained, we obtain the codes for those quantization levels. So here you see that obviously all of you have studied the binary codes. So these binary codes corresponds to the level of the quantization. So whatever is the quantization level value, that value is converted into corresponding code. So if the value of that quantization level is large, then obviously the binary code that will be assigned to that quantization level will also be large. So what we are doing here, that whatever is the actual value of the quantization level, whatever is the actual value, say if this value is say 3, so this value 3 is encoded as 011. Okay, so here see, say for example, the value here is say 5, quantization level value is 5, so it is encoded as binary code 101. Okay, and if you have more than value 8, say, then you will require more number of bits, and the corresponding binary codes will be obtained. So here in PCM system that we have discussed till now, what we are doing, the actual sample values of the information signal, the actual sample values are encoded. Actual value, obviously, actual, by actual I mean to say that whatever actual value of the signal was there, you took approximation of that in the form of quantization level, and that equivalent approximated value is then converted into corresponding binary code. Okay, so that is what we have done in our encoding in PCM system. So with this background, it will be easier for us now to appreciate the concept of DPCM. Let us now see that. So DPCM is nothing but differential PCM. So as I just told you that in PCM, what happens, we encode actual sample values. Okay, so if we have some message signal, as I told you, and this value is, say for example 7, then it will be encoded as 111. So that means the actual sample value of the information signal is transmitted at each sampling instance. Obviously the binary code will be generated at the sampling instance only. Okay, and we have taken information signal as empty. So in PCM, we are concerned with the actual sample values. See students, I told you that two things are very, very important in any communication system. One is our power of the signal and another is your bandwidth. And we want to preserve these resources. We want to save these resources as much as possible. So your differential PCM is also one step in that direction, that we need to work out some strategy where we can save our resources. Okay, so if you look carefully at the concept of DPCM, in fact in PCM, what we observe that though we are sampling actual sample values in PCM, but we need not send actual sample values. Even without sending actual sample values, we can also regenerate our signal back at the receiver side. Now the question is how? So the answer lies in DPCM, differential PCM. So instead of sending actual sample values, we will be sending the difference between the consecutive sample values. Okay, so as I just told you that if we have say this as our information signal, earlier we were sending the absolute or the actual sample values. Now what we will say that these are two consecutive sample values. Say this value is, say for example 8 and this value is, say 3. Then instead of sending 3, instead of sending 8, we will send the difference between 8 and 3, that is 5. Okay, so what we will do in DPCM, at each kth sampling time, so whatever sampling time we have, we will send the difference between the sample value mk at the sampling time k. Okay, and the sample value mk minus 1 at time k minus 1. So here see, we are taking two sampling time, one is k and another is k minus 1. That means these are two consecutive sampling instances, and at these two consecutive sampling instances we have two sample values, one is mk and another is mk minus 1. And in DPCM we send the difference of these two. Okay, I hope all of you have understood this. So we send the difference between these two consecutive sample values in DPCM. Then obviously all of you understand basic mathematics. So by accumulating those difference values, by adding those difference values, then we can regenerate our signal and we will get a waveform which is identical to our original information signal MT. So students, mind here this word identical. I'm not saying the signal that we will be able to generate will be 100% similar to the original one. It will be identical. It will be approximate to that. And that's what we want. So I told you earlier also, if we cannot appreciate a very high quality, there is no point in investing that high quality signal. Okay. And this strategy of having DPCM is generated due to the fact that we know that the successive samples, they are correlated with each other. So whatever information signal we have, if there are two consecutive samples, these consecutive samples cannot be independent of each other. There will be correlation. The value cannot suddenly change in the information signal. So obviously there will be correlation between the successive samples of our information signals. And that's why we send the difference between the sample values which are consecutive to each other, and then by accumulating and adding them we can get an identical waveform, which is our ultimate objective. Okay, and we are doing that thing, as I told you, that the difference between these two consecutive samples, it will be much smaller than the actual sample values. So obviously if we transmit the differences whose value is smaller. So obviously we will require fewer quantization levels. Obviously we will require fewer bits to encode those levels. So obviously if we can regenerate the same information signal at the receiver side by having fewer quantization levels and fewer bits, fewer binary bits, then obviously we are having advantage of lesser number of bits required to transmit our information signal. Okay, so as I told you, this way we are able to save the number of bits to be transmitted. I hope this concept is clear to every student. Next. So this is the block diagram of differential PCM. I think by looking at this block diagram, you are able to at once understand the concept that I explained you in the previous slide, though some elaboration is required that we will just do in this slide. So our MT is our original information signal. Okay, M dash K, this is our, approximated signal of approximated, you can say, level of this MT. So what we do, we obtain the difference of these two. Fine. Now in fact, I should say that, as I told you, that here what we will do, we are doing two things. We are sending the difference between the two consecutive sample values. Okay, and then we are accumulating that also. So obviously what we will be doing, if at a given sampling time k, we get the current value of the information signal. Okay, and along with that current value of the information signal, we also need the previous value of the information signal. So obviously, and it is just previous value, so that previous value can be accumulated in the transmitter part itself, and we keep on getting the previous value and the current value. So here if you look carefully, this is the current value MT of the information signal. Okay, this is the accumulated value which gives us the, you can say, previous approximated version of the uh, previous sampling instance value of the message signal. Okay, so whatever difference we have corresponding to those two, then that difference is amplified with the help of difference amplifier. Okay, and if you look at this portion of this slide, so this is our sampling signal. So obviously we'll be carrying out, or will be doing DPCM processing at the sampling instance only. So once we have amplified the difference, okay, then that difference value will be sampled and hold. So it will be kept constant during the gap between two sampling pulses. Okay, and that value which has been held constant, it will be quantized. So here what we are doing, we are quantizing the difference between the two values, not the actual sample values. So this quantized value is then, you can say, transmitted at the output. So here obviously you should have asked a question that there are three things which are important in any PCM system. One is sampling, another is quantization, and third is encoding. So we have shown here sampling and quantization. There is no encoding shown here. So just for the sake of simplicity, this encoder has not been shown here. Otherwise, encoder will be there. You'll have encoder here before having actual output for your differential PCM. Fine. So that is one thing. Now, so whatever is the output of this quantizer, it is preserved. Okay, and that, for the time being, you do not think of this block predictor. You simply think of the block accumulator. So whatever quantized value we are sending at the output, the same quantized value has been accumulated. Okay, let me show you the slide related to quantization process again. You see here you try to correlate it like this, that say this is what you get after quantization. Fine. At the next sampling instance, say this is the value of your original actual signal that have that the value you have at the sampling instance, or the current value. Fine. So then what we will do, we are accumulating the previous values. Fine. And this green colored signal, it will accumulate itself like this. Fine. And we will keep on comparing it with the current value and the accumulated value. Okay. Now one more thing here is, see, so accumulator provides us the value of the previously accumulated signal. Fine. Now what is the job of predictor here? See, what we want that the signal that has been obtained after accumulation, okay, it must be a good approximation of the original signal. Okay. And signal is continuously changing. Fine. So we cannot simply, and obviously since we are sending the difference of the two sample, though we will be able to regenerate signal, but there is a minor deviation. Okay. Whatever actual sample values are there and whatever differences are there, there is minor deviation in the signal that you generate through differences or difference values. Okay. So here, in order to have a more approximate value after accumulation, we need a predictor, because of inherent variation in the original signal. We do not know how it will behave in the coming time. Okay. So depending on whatever change is taking place in our corresponding output signal, okay, corresponding to the original information signal, we need to predict that what should be the value, what should be the next value. Say this is the actual value. Fine. And say up to this point we have accumulated. So obviously we need to predict that how much is the difference between the actual value and the accumulated value, so that this approximation is you can say more accurate. Okay. So that's why we have predictor here. So the job of the predictor is to predict the value, difference value that should be accumulated, so that this gives the approximated value to that of the actual signal value. Okay. So this is the approximation to that. Is that point clear? And then what we do, with the help of difference amplifier, sample and hold, and quantizer, we get the output signal. So this is how we obtain differential PCM. And I told you the concept that why at all we go after differential PCM. So as I told you, we have not shown encoder here. Similarly, decoder has also not been shown in the receiver side. Okay. So the receiver part of this DPCM is self-explanatory. So obviously at the input of the receiver, what do we get? We get the received signal. And what is the received signal? It is the quantized signal, which is encoded one. Okay. So this is our received signal here. This is our received signal. So in a way, if you forget about the encoder part, so we get quantized signal at the input here. Okay. So obviously we will have to again accumulate and predict our quantized signal at the receiver side. Okay. So we'll have to again start accumulating that signal from the beginning. And once we predict, we accumulate, and we get approximated version of the signal. And this approximated signal version of the signal will be passed through a filter to remove the variations, or you remove the abruptness that are present in the signal, and we get the replica of the original information signal. Okay, so if you look at this thing carefully, this part is nothing but the receiver part only. Okay, so what we do, whatever actual signal is there, we try to regenerate approximate of that, and we send the difference of those two. So this is the basis of working of your differential PCM. So this was the block diagram of our differential PCM. Now let us move further. So after differential PCM, we have one more concept that we call as adaptive differential PCM. Okay, so the adaptive differential PCM, as clear from the name itself, this is that kind of differential PCM which is adaptive in nature. Okay, which can adapt to the changing conditions. Fine. So the block diagram for this adaptive differential PCM will remain same as we have just discussed in the previous slide, with, you can say, modification that the quantization will be adaptive and the prediction will be adaptive. See what we discussed in the previous slide. We have quantization here and we have predictor here. Okay, so we all know that the information signal is continuously varying and it is unpredictable. Okay, and we want the best possible approximation, and the best possible approximation at the output of accumulator as well as at the output of quantizer will be obtained when we are able to adapt to or responsive to the changes in the original information signal. So if we do that, we become adaptive to the quantization and adaptive to the, you can say, for the prediction. Then we get adaptive DPCM, digital coding scheme. Okay, so as I just told you, that adaptive means being responsive to the changing level and the spectrum of the input speech signal or input signal, whatever. Fine. So adaptive quantization means a quantizer that will operate with time varying step size. So what we have in quantization, we divide our signal in various steps. Okay, so this is known as step size. This is your step size. So this step size has to be adaptive, which will not be fixed. It will be changed depending on your signal condition, and it will change from uh, time to time. Then we have adaptive prediction, which refers to a predictor. So that predictor is also time varying. Okay, so this predictor will be nothing but some kind of algorithm that will vary with time in accordance with the information signal. So obviously your adaptive differential PCM will give us more improved approximate of original information signal, but because of adaptiveness introduced here, we will have increased complexity, and delay will also be more because we need certain time to adapt to our quantization and adapt to our prediction process depending on the information signal value. Okay, so there are some schemes or quantizers that gives us adaptive quantization and adaptive prediction as well. So you can, if you are interested, you can Google your computer to find out the further schemes which give us adaptive quantization and adaptive prediction. Okay, so this is all about your adaptive differential PCM. Next. So students, I told you at the beginning of today's lecture that in PCM, what we do, we introduce deliberate distortion when we quantize our signal. In fact, when we sample our signal, then also there is some deliberation, distortion is introduced into the signal. Okay, so That's why in PCM system, we have two kind of noise present, or two major sources of noise. One is channel noise and another is quantization noise. Channel noise, you all know that there is a channel between transmitter and receiver, which is unpredictable, which is not in our control. So channel noise is bound to come, the noise which has been introduced in the channel. And second one, the kind of noise in PCM is quantization noise. So this quantization noise is the noise or the error that we have deliberately introduced, as I just talked about. Okay, so this channel noise can be introduced at any point, anywhere between transmitter and receiver input. Okay, the moment your signal goes out of the transmitter and it reaches at the input of the receiver, during that portion of your communication system, your channel noise can be introduced, and this channel noise is always present. Okay, and the main impact of this channel noise is the introduction of bit errors. Okay, what do you mean by bit errors? Let me go back to our encoding slide. So here I told you that in encoding, what we do in encoding, we convert our sample values into various bits, and these bits will be transmitted into the channel in the form of pulses. Okay, so here you see these pulses, this was the noise. So if the level of the noise becomes so high that your pulse level becomes like this because of noise, okay, means wherever your one bit was there, it has been interpreted as zero, because your noise level was so high that it has changed your one bit interpretation to zero. Means one has been mistaken as zero, or zero has been mistaken as one. So that is the meaning of bit error. Okay, so your channel noise mainly impacts in the form of bit errors. Okay, and these bit errors can be made negligible by ensuring that adequate signal to noise ratio is there. If your signal level is quite high as compared to noise level, so obviously bit errors will not take place. Okay, so channel noise is a kind of noise which is present everywhere in every system, and which can be made negligible by using by having proper SNR. Now the quantization noise. So your quantization noise is a deliberate noise which we introduced in the transmitter deliberately through quantizer. Okay, and that noise which was introduced, that carried from the transmitter to the receiver, and not up to the receiver input, it goes up to the receiver output. Okay, so that is the difference in quantization noise and channel noise. Or channel noise was present up to receiver input, whereas your quantization noise is present up to the receiver output. And another important point is that our quantization noise is signal dependent. So obviously the quantization levels that we are generating, those quantization levels are generated with the help of our input signal. So if your input signal changes, so obviously the quantized signal will also change. So from signal to signal, this quantization noise nature will change, whereas your channel noise, that was independent of the signal. So that is another important difference between your channel noise and your quantization noise. So since quantization noise has come due to deliberate distortion into the signal, so this quantization noise is under the control of the system designer. So whosoever is the communication engineer or designer, he or she can control quantization noise by proper system design. Okay, but I feel that since quantization is a soul of the PCM, so we cannot totally remove this quantization noise. Okay, so we can control the level of quantization noise by using adequate number of quantization levels in the quantizer, and we can adopt proper compounding strategy, or we can select proper compounding strategy to control quantization noise. We will come to the concept of compounding in the coming slide. Okay, so I hope you have been able to understand the types of noise in a PCM system. So channel noise we are discussing about again and again. We have talked about complete topic on noise where we talked about the channel noise. Quantization noise we have not talked till now, which has become a part of our discussion only and only once we talked about quantization or conversion of your analog signal into digital signal. So that's why we need to deliberate we need to devote some more time to the discussion on quantization noise. So I would like to say here that in case of PCM system, we are more interested in signal to quantization noise ratio. Okay, I told you that for any communication system, signal to noise ratio is an important parameter. So earlier we were mainly concerned with signal power and the noise power which is present in the channel. Whereas in case of PCM system, we have two types of noise. One is channel noise and the quantization noise. Okay, channel noise is, you can say, omnipresent. It is known to everyone. Okay, so for PCM system, we will specifically talk about signal to quantization noise ratio without considering channel noise. Okay, so that's why here we need to concentrate on signal to quantization noise ratio, and we should not worry much about the channel noise. Fine. So let us now talk about the quantization noise in detail. So here again in this slide, I have shown the original message signal, okay, which is a continuous curve, which has been shown as MT. Okay, and I have also shown the quantized signal, which is shown as a step size signal. Okay, and which is represented as MQT. So MT is the original message signal, MQT is the quantized step size signal. So obviously MQT is the approximated version of original information signal. So if you take the difference of these two, then whatever difference we get, we call that difference as quantization noise or quantization error. So I hope you are able to appreciate the concept of quantization noise. So quantization noise is, you can say, error introduced due to the quantization of the original information signal. So here you can see that your continuous curve is labeled as MT and your step size curve is shown as MQT. Then we'll also discuss this quantization error or noise mathematically. So let us talk about few other things related to understanding of quantization noise. So what we do, our MT signal peak to peak range. Okay, peak to peak range means the highest value of the modulating signal and the lowest value of the modulating signal. So this is peak to peak range. So the range of amplitude from highest peak to the lowest peak. So this peak to peak range of MT is divided into M number of equal voltage intervals. So what we have done here, we have divided our entire range of the amplitude of the modulating signal into M number of levels. So these are M number of levels which are equally spaced. Okay, and each level is of size S volt. So this size of each level is S volt. Fine. Then, so after we have divided the entire signal into M equal voltage intervals, we take a mid level in each of the voltage intervals, and those mid levels are indicated as M1, M2 and MM. Okay, and those mid levels are this one. These dotted lines are mid levels. So these are your mid levels, and these mid levels are nothing but your quantization levels. Okay, from M0 to M7. So these are the quantization levels at the center of each interval. So if your signal lies in this interval, okay, in that case your signal will be approximated to this center value, this center quantization level. So whatever value is present within this interval, that will be represented by a constant value, that is that mid quantization level. Fine. So this is also again nothing but the same kind of thing. So here you can see that we have shown the quantization error that has been introduced because of representing your original signal with the help of quantized output. Okay, so you can see here that my original signal was this one, and I have taken this as the quantized one. So during this portion there is an error, and how much error is there? So this is the error. Okay, so graphically you can represent your error like this, and mathematically it is the difference between MT and MQT. I hope all of you have been again able to understand the way we quantize and the way we introduce error into our quantized signal. Fine. So after looking into these quantization levels, now let us move forward. So here what we want to have, we want to find out the value for mean square quantization error. Okay, so see, let me correlate with what we have discussed in this slide. So here, as I told you, that your signal is divided into different levels, M levels. Okay, and there is a presence of quantization error. Okay, and now we need to basically find out the mean square error or mean square value of that quantization noise, because ultimate objective is to find out signal to quantization noise power ratio. So since we have to obtain noise power, quantization noise power, which will be equivalent to nothing but your mean square uh, error value. Okay, so that's why we need to obtain the mean square error value, quantization noise value. So here on the right hand side, the same thing which I showed you in the previous slide has been shown again. So these are the M number of quantization levels, okay, at the center. Fine. So here, if this is my original message signal value, which has been represented by MT, okay, and this is my kth quantization level. So the difference between the actual value and the quantization value will be nothing but my error. Okay, so the quantization error is nothing but M minus M1 for the first level, M minus M2 for the second level, and so on. It is continuing. Okay, so now what is our objective? Our objective is to find out the mean square quantization error. Okay, means the sum or the mean of the square of the quantization errors. So obviously we will have to take the mean of the errors which has been introduced in the individual quantization levels, and we have total M number of levels. So that is what has been done here. So it is mean square, so that's why your error has been squared. Fine. And then all of you are aware with the concept of statistics. So since our input signal or our information signal is not exactly known beforehand, so obviously probability of uh, existence of a particular value for this has to be taken. So that's why we have to take FMDM as the probability that my message signal lies in the voltage range from M minus dm by 2 to M plus dm by 2. What does it mean? Obviously, we will be considering a particular quantization level for the case where we have m minus dm by 2 and m plus dm by 2, this value on the either side of this quantization level. Okay, so your integration is nothing but it is equivalent to your summation. Okay, so we do the integration from m1 minus s by 2 to m1 plus s by 2. What does it mean? I told you that our step size is how much? Our step size is s. Okay, so this step size of s is divided into two halves on the either side of the quantization level, s by 2 on the upper side and s by 2 on the lower side. Fine, so that's why it has been integrated from m1 minus s by 2 to m1 plus s by 2. This fmdm is nothing but the probability for this range, and this is the mean square value, the square of the error. Okay, so this is corresponding to your quantization level 1 for 2 and so on. So this is how we represent our mean square quantization error. Okay, so now we need to solve this expression in order to obtain a final expression for mean square quantization error. We need to assume certain things so that we come to a quite simpler expression that gives us a fair idea about the mean square quantization error or the noise. So what we have to reasonably assume, and that is important also, that the number of quantization level, which are nothing but capital M, they must be large as compared to the step size. Or in other words, the step size S, it must be very small as compared to the total number of quantization levels. And that is quite understandable also, because if your step size is larger than the number of levels, then obviously there will be quite large quantization error. So we must ensure that the number of quantization levels, they must be large as compared to your step size, or the other way around, that your step size should be very, very small as compared to your total number of quantization levels, or the range of the signal. Fine, so for that we can assume that the probability of existence of your signal within the range of this step size, that is s, from m1 minus s by 2 to m1 plus i2, that probability can be assumed constant. What does it mean? That means, as I told you, that we are looking for the probability of existence of the signal within this range. And if we assume that this range of s is too small as compared to this entire range of the signal, so obviously the probability of uh, existence of the signal value within this range, it will be constant for that particular quantization level. So uh, here this approximation has been assumed that your fm is constant within each quantization range. Okay, so if it is constant, so obviously it will come out of the integration. So for level 1, this fm is represented by f1, for level 2 f2, and so on. Okay, so and since we assume probability constant, so we can take our m minus mk generalized quantization error expression. M minus mk can be represented by x. Okay, so this becomes x square dx. So m minus m square, it becomes x square, dm becomes dx. Okay, and your integration becomes from minus s by 2 to s by 2. Okay, so this is a constant thing that comes out, and we are left with f1 f2 like this. Okay, so if you solve this integration, you get s cube by 12. Okay, and this is the sum of the various f components, or the probabilistic density values which are present in each quantization intervals. Okay, so the small f is actually probability density. For probability, they need to be multiplied with the step size. So 1s from s cube by 12 will come here. You get f1s plus f2s and so on. Okay, and this is nothing but the sum of the all the probabilities corresponding to this given signal, and we know that sum of the all probability values for a given case gives us 1. So as a result, what do we get? Our mean square quantization noise value is s square by 12, where s is what? Step size. Step size that you have taken to represent each quantization level. Okay, so the larger the value of step size, the more will be the amount of quantization noise. So that's why here we can also conclude that your quantization noise value is lesser for smaller size of step in the quantization process. Okay, so our mean square quantization noise is nothing but it is equal to s square by 12. Fine. Next. So after obtaining the value of quantization noise in PCM system, now we have to obtain the expression for signal to noise ratio in PCM system. Okay, so for this calculation of signal to noise ratio value for PCM, we need to look into few expressions. So here, as I told you that my modulating signal or information signal ranges from low peak to high peak. Lower peak I take as VL and this as VH. So this is my VL and this is my VH. Fine. And for the special case here, what I assume that this lower peak and higher peak, they are having the same value, means in the positive and negative, they have equal positive and negative peak. So I assume that VH equal to minus VL equal to V. So this value is also V in the positive side. This value is also V in the negative side. So this assumption we have considered here. Okay, another thing is that we assume that the probability density of the signal that we are quantizing here, that is uniform. Okay, so we have uniform probability density. So in case of uniform probability density, your signal when signal ranges from plus V to minus V, so uniform probability density becomes 1 by 2V. So V minus of minus V. So this range is nothing but 2V and it is uniform. So that's why this probability density becomes 1 by 2V. Okay. So after this, now we need to find out the value for signal to noise ratio. So first let us see the value of average signal power. So obviously this is the ratio of signal power to the noise power. Noise we are considering here as quantization noise. So we are mainly focused on signal to quantization noise ratio. Okay, so average signal power SI will be nothing but your mean square value of the signal voltage. So it will be m square T bar. The way we calculated the mean square value of the quantization noise, same kind of expression here also. So you see that your signal is varying from minus V to V. This is your integration. M square T is nothing but your equivalent to your power, or you can say square value. 1 by 2V is nothing but your probability density value. So if you solve this integral directly, you get this one, V square by 3. So your average signal power corresponding to this signal is V square by 3, where V is the peak voltage of your signal. Fine. Then the value of quantization noise we just derived in the previous slide. It is nothing but equal to s square by 12. Fine. Now, as I told you in the previous slide also, we have taken m number of quantization levels. So there are m number of levels, quantization levels. Okay, and each level is of size S. S is the step size. So if you multiply step size with m number of levels, we get the entire range of the signal, which is nothing but 2 of V, twice of V here. 2V. So ms is equal to 2V. So from here we get V equal to ms by 2. Okay, so we have in input signal power, we have quantization noise power. So if we take its ratio after substituting the value of V, we get SI by NQ equal to M square. Okay, and here we are, see, this was your input signal power. Okay, and for the case of simplicity and practically also, we can take your for the system input signal power, ideally it should be equal to output signal power. Okay, because we want our signal to be reproduced. So your SI is equal to S naught, so that's why your output signal to quantization noise ratio, it is also M square. Okay, assuming that your signal is demodulated correctly. Okay, so this is our output signal to quantization noise ratio, that also becomes M is equal to M square. Okay, so after quantization, what is our next job? Our job is to encode. So obviously these quantization levels will be encoded. If we use binary codes, then binary encoding will be used. So as we have M quantization levels, so and those quantization levels are represented with say n number of bits. Fine, in that case your number of quantization levels will be equal to 2 raised power n because of binary code. So we can substitute this value for M here, and your output signal to quantization ratio becomes 2 raised to power 2n. So this is our signal to noise ratio at the output of PCM system in the form of number of bits that are used to represent your PCM signal. Okay, and if you take in decibels, we have to use 10 log 10 S naught by NQ. So we get 6N. So this is very, very important expression in dBs for signal to noise ratio, quantization noise ratio in PCM system. So it is 6 times the number of bits which are required to encode each quantization level or each sample values in your PCM system. Okay, so I hope all of you have understood this concept. So this is how we have obtained the output signal to quantization noise power ratio for PCM system. Okay, next. Next is the concept of compending. Okay, so this is very, very important concept. First, we need to know what is the meaning of compending. Compending is a combination of two words. One is compressing and another is your expanding. Okay, so this is compressing and this is your expanding. So this is how we coin this term compending. Okay, now why do we need this compending? See, we have just obtained the signal to quantization noise power expression, which was nothing but it was equal to 6n. Okay, and just let me go to back this slide. So this was equal to 6n, and this output signal to quantization noise ratio is nothing but 2 raised to power 2n. Okay, and this expression was obtained by the assumption that the signal must swing between the range which is large in comparison to your step size. I told you that we have assumed uniform probability density. That was possible when this step size of the quantized signal, it must be S must be small as compared to this entire range. Okay, so if that is satisfied, only then we will be able to obtain sufficient signal to noise power ratio, quantization noise power ratio in our PCM system. Okay, what we want, we will be able to have sufficient signal to noise ratio when we have lesser quantization noise. Okay, so we have to reduce the quantization noise as much as possible. Fine. So obviously we will have to keep our step size small as compared to the entire range of the signal. Fine. And in other words, I should say that what I want my dynamic range of the signal high. We want high dynamic range of my signal. Okay, that means the small amplitude signal, it should range through more quantization regions. Just a minute, let me explain it in a more clear way. See, if we have lower voltage levels, okay, so this is say small voltage range. Okay, fine. So if I draw the quantization levels corresponding to this, so all these values, they are concentrated only within one quantization level. Within one quantization level means all these values, they will be, you know, grouped in one quantization level only. Or I should say that more quantization error is taking place at the lower value, lower amplitude value of the signal. Okay, so in order to have improved dynamic range, means what I want that more number of amplitude values of the signal, they should be brought in the quantization levels. Okay, so for that, what we need to have, we need to increase the dynamic range in a way that for the lower amplitude value ranges, okay, I want to cover those ranges for more number of quantization level. You see here, for small amplitude values of the input signal, say up to this much. So this is my input signal values. For input signal values, my output signal range is over this range. So this range is very small for input. This range is large for the corresponding output signal. Okay. So what I'm doing, I am expanding the range of the amplitude for lower amplitude values of the signal. Okay, and if I do that, I will be able to distribute lower amplitude value signal values over more quantization levels. Okay, so see one thing, uh, by increasing this amplitude value ranges, I am again introducing deliberate distortion. Okay, what I'm doing, I'm basically changing the voltage values, but my objective of this changing the voltage values is to improve the signal to noise ratio. So since I am introducing deliberate distortion, I call this curve as compression curve. Okay, since I am introducing deliberate distortion here at the transmitter side, I'll have to carry out its reverse at the receiver side. Okay, so that's why this is called as compending. This is compression and this is your expansion. So before transmitting my signal at the output, I'll pass my signal, message signal first through compender, or you can say through compression at the input of the transmitter, and then I'll carry out the reverse at the output of the at the receiver side. Okay, and as a result, my dynamic range of the signal has increased due to your compending, and without any change in my actual signal, because the reverse of thing has been applied to the receiver received signal. So the main objective of compending is to improve the dynamic range of the signal so that my signal to quantization noise power ratio is improved. Okay, so that was the concept of compending. So with this, my topic of your pulse code modulation, your DPCM, and the noise in PCM system, this is over. Okay, so in the next class we will start digital communication exclusively, though a few things related to digital communication we have already covered in a PCM system. They will be more exclusively discussed in the next class on digital communication. Thank you.